beginning of America, the Port Royal habitation, oldest white settlement north of the Gulf of Mexico. I am the dark green highlands that rise from the sea, where first the continent of North America was touched. I am the myriad coves whose bastions of rock offer shelter for those who venture into the sea wind. I am the bridge forged to throw a road across the skies and link two shores. I am the magnificent, the Maggie, affectionate symbol of the bond between air and sea. I am Manudi, where shad are harvested from airborne nets by wagon. I am the red cliffs of Minas, where the basin walls restrain the highest of the earth's tides. I am Grand Pre, historic setting of tragedy, where Acadians meet in common pilgrimage. I am the sound of marching feet, echoing across the long centuries. I am the site of 1,000 signal lights, marking headland and harbor. I am a land stretching out from Citadel Hill, where the tales are many to tell of life and living. The tales of the sea begin in the early light, when the ear tells more of the coming day than the eye. In the soft half-light, the distant beat of the surf, the rhythm of motors, the metallic sound of invisible hands arranging gear have special significance. Sounds ebb and flow until the last fisherman has left port and the last light has flickered out on shore. The great tides of the Bay of Fundy make possible a unique method of fishing. Gill nets, staked to the ocean floor, are covered at high tide, trapping shad. When the water recedes, the catch is left high in the sea air to await harvesting. No time is lost in collecting the shad. The 1,000-foot-long nets are almost 2 miles from shore, and the road over the bare ocean bed is hazardous. The onrushing tide, sweeping in to fill the basin to a height of 28 feet in 6 hours, may overtake a careless fisherman. Salt water can swirl around horse, wagon, and fisherman before safety is reached. The men who look to the sea must first look to the ships. Along the 4,600-mile coastline, in marine dockyards and on seaside ways, the work of building boats and ships goes forward. The materials and methods have changed, but the ancient skills remain. The skeleton frameworks are slowly transformed into vessels that one day are sent down the slips to prove their seaworthiness. Highways of the sea, Another voyager has been added. The land that the sea binds has a unique beauty. From innumerable high vantage points, the orchards and fields extend to blue-mottled horizons. In the valleys, the oxen still bend their powerful shoulders to the yoke, reminders of a day when a man's hands and beasts were his only help in subduing the frontiers. The towns that grew and prospered under the salty sun developed individual characteristics. Annapolis Royal built its ancient charm around the antiquity of 300-year-old Fort Anne. The town of Digby, home port of the Scallop Fleet and terminus of the Fundy Ferry, uses its high and low tide dock to berth other visitors from the deep sea. A true saltwater playground, it dispenses a full measure of maritime hospitality. Yarmouth, with its face set towards New England, is proud of its role as official greeter. Shettycamp displays its impressive cathedral like a huge toy on the coastal plains. At Louisburg, the leveled walls, which were once 30-foot ramparts enclosing a 100-acre city, tell of the glory that was France. Spanish Bay was the original name for Cape Breton's greatest seaport. But the first governor of the island wished to pay tribute to the colonial secretary by renaming the city in his honor. And so, as Sydney, the community grew to become the second city in the land. Here in this maritime city lies a surprise. The largest self-contained steel plant in America. Out of the maw of a dozen fiery hearths pours 500,000 tons of molten steel each year. The crash and thunder of its huge furnaces as they digest their menu of iron and scrap metals is duplicated in the foundries and machine shops. Silhouetted against the sparkling crystal of the harbor, Halifax looks every inch its part as warden of the shipping lanes. A city of monuments to the past, its active spirit is overflowing its old channels and creating new paths and projects. The ancient role of Halifax is never better shown than when the Atlantic Fleet is at home. On Naval Day, the destroyers turn from exercises to play. On the skill of their boat racing crews, the honor and prowess of the fighting ships momentarily rests. For one day of the year, the Navy belongs to the sailor and the proud people of Halifax. The more up-to-date image of Canada's East Coast port is reflected in the sights and sounds of shearwater. At this training center, the new look of efficiency is shown in the dress of its young men and the sound of prop and jet engines. But the real forward surge of Halifax is seen in its building program. With the opening of the Angus L. MacDonald Bridge, the city forged a direct link with Dartmouth, its neighboring town. With its main towers rising more than 300 feet into the skies, the new testimonial to transport is a remarkable piece of engineering. Travel and commerce have literally taken to the air across the busy harbor. Much of the glamour of a port rests in its great ships. The fascination of following the aircraft carrier Magnificent into home port is an experience to be enjoyed on each occasion. The standing salute of the seamen, the deceptive energy of the tiny tugs, express part of the spell of naval tradition. To visitors, the surprise of Halifax is the charm of its public gardens. Under the magic of spring and summer, the trees and shrubs blossom, the colors come alive, and a fresh, vivid world of romance is created. The soft, salt breezes flowing in from the ocean beyond seem to temper the fragrance. The countryside surrounding the towns has a bribery of its own. When the days turn warm, the backwoods and quiet streams set their lures. The relaxation that comes from a dipping paddle and the harmony that sings from voiceless objects bestows remedies that cannot be packaged. The rod and reel fraternity can indulge their every fancy, be it inland fly fishing, surf casting, or deep sea fishing. The choices are nearby and exciting. In a land where there are no leased waters, fishing is reserved for fishermen. Not all water sports offer a solid footing for their enjoyment. The practice of log rolling is recommended only to those who like their sport chin high. Then there are those who exercise their sportsmanship in a more mechanical way. In every country, there is a place natural enough to be artless and simple enough to be bold that captures the imagination and love of all who see it. Such a place is Peggy's Cove. Flanked by gigantic rocks, which act as anvil for the ocean's hammer, the Cove is a busy fishing port. A favorite place for picnics and lobster broils, it is also a popular subject for countless paintings. When the huts, snake fences, and long-legged wharves are transferred to canvas, the result is witchery. No one visiting the Cove will easily forget the marriage and warfare of rock and water. The tales of 5 islands are of land, sea, and legend. Today, the stories may be of the clam hunters who wait for the receding tide to uncover the widespread beds. Yesterday, the tales might have been of Glooscap, the Micmac Indian god. According to legend, the precipitous, mesa-like 5 islands came into being when Glooscap hurled 5 great handfuls of red earth at his ancient enemy, the beaver. The clams are located by pressing firmly upon the sands and watching for air bubbles to form. It's a work of love for adventurers who enjoy bare feet, old clothes, and a seafood lunch. An open-air barbecue for chicken or steak is far from a novelty. But a giant barbecue where thousands of golden chickens meet their hungry admirers en masse is king-size treatment. At Truro, the emphasis is on appetite. The feast is waged until hunger disappears on legs of chicken. Annapolis is an old name, and springtime an old feeling. When the season and the valley meet, romance is carried on the petals, and the ageless miracle of spring is restaged. The gay spirit of the year's youngest season has carnival overtones. The Blossom Festival opens the door of springtide with a flourish. The merrymaking suggests an older valley people, the gallants of old France, who found pleasure in community gatherings as they built their dikes to hold back the sea. The flowering orchards, which ring out to the laughter of queen and princesses, once echoed across open fields to the dinner calls for New Englander and Frenchmen as they planted the first apple seedlings. At Grand Pre, the festival puts on its ceremonial robes. Each valley town has selected its princess. From among these, the queen is carefully chosen. The occasion is one for suspense, speech-making, and military displays. The homage to spring in Annapolis is gracious and fitting. Under the pretty face of Grand Pre, there is a deep religious undertone. Memories are long in Acadia. Across the yawning silence of 200 years, the Acadian Church of St. Charles has carried the torch of remembrance. The Acadian bicentennial marks 2 centuries of belief in a single cause. Under the mask of time, the faith of a people has remained constant. In erecting tributes to its heroes, a nation recognizes its obligations. With the telling of the epic story of Evangeline, Longfellow enshrined himself in the world's heart and on the meadows of Grand Pré. Celebration committees usually look to other days and older events for their inspiration. At Annapolis Royal, the inspiration is ready-made. The wheels of time are turned back 350 years to recreate the storming of Fort Anne. With all the vigor of the original attack, history is again given its day of action. Centuries, the clangor of battle has become entangled with hot dog stands and pop bottles. And both victor and vanquished retire gracefully to the refreshment booths to rearm the inner man. No story of the land would be complete without the Scot. With dancing sporran and whirling kilt, he takes his love from the tartan and his joy from the pipes. Worker, a dreamer, and a rover, the Scot has taken his plaid and his music around the earth. In the highlands of Cape Breton, he found the image of his homeland and fashioned a new croft among the hills to match the old. On the 13th of August, 1955, time stood still for Cape Breton. 100 pipers with the bright path of the Canso Causeway ahead pipe their way into history and officially open the new marine highway. The isolation of the Celtic Isle is now a thing of the past. With thousands of tons of rock, the Strait of Canso is bridged and a divided land made whole. Into the privacy of fishing hamlet and sword-fishing cove, into primeval hills and remote seascapes, the causeway opens swift passage. The box of Cape Breton treasures is open for all to sample, and in sampling, to carry away a bit of the Gaelic heart. Kiad Miol Feilte, 100,000 welcomes. The tales of the land that stretches outward from Citadel Hill are often told. In their telling, old truths are reconfirmed. The physical charm, the happy flow of people and events, the enchantment of high road and trail, the courage and culture, challenge and accomplishment. These are real verities strung on ancient threads. Who am I? What is my name? My secret is no longer hidden, for my separate parts are known to many. The sea gave me life, and the hills gave me form. My crown is the highlands, my scepter the rivers, and my robes the carpeted valleys. A land of first things, I am many things to many people, home, host, and helpmate. My name is Nova Scotia, and in the spirit of my youth, I can see the retold tales of my past and the promise of my future.